Thank you, Michael. Hey, everyone. In November window, we start making the turn into the second half of qualifying. It's been a great experience for this group, and I've been really impressed how, this young team has been dealing with, all of the roller coaster of what World Cup qualifying entails. We've shown our resiliency. Some of our performances have been excellent, and we've played a number of players throughout these first 6 games. Looking forward to the November window, we'll have another opportunity for 4 players to get their first taste of World Cup qualifying experience. We'll also add Christian Pulisic back into the team, and it's really the same mentality that we've had in the past windows. The goal is 1 game at a time. Focusing heavily on Mexico game for the first couple of days, and turning around and getting ready for Jamaica. We know it's a big window, and we're excited for it and looking forward to both games.
Thanks, Greg. We'll start with questions and begin with.
We just lost you there, Michael, for a sec.
Yeah. Paul, you good?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Thanks, Michael. Greg, thanks for doing this. Two questions on the roster: the decision to leave John Brooks off of this team, and then also to bring just one true out-and-out number 9 in Ricardo Pepi. And is Jesus a player that you look at as that false 9 role you played, or is he a winger type? Thank you.
Yeah, so I think when you look at Jesus's body of work with the national team, he's been playing number 9. And we think in his performances, albeit against lesser opponents, we really liked what he did at the number 9 position. Really strong performances. We know he's a guy that could link play. We know he's guys that arrives in the penalty box. We know he's a guy that leads the line defensively to build pressure. And he's been in outstanding form in Dallas. We know he's been playing more of an attacking midfielder role, but Jesus has the type of intelligence, the game intelligence that that makes him able to adapt to a position very easily. So he'll be fine playing the number 9. The other thing to consider is Tim Weah recently in the Champions League has played up top for his team. He's played that off and on all season for Lille, so he's comfortable playing there. We know that Christian can move there if we need him to. So we feel like in this 2-game window, we have enough options at the number 9 position. Regarding John Brooks, it was a really difficult decision. And a lot of it was based on, how we felt his performance was with the team the last time he's been performing. I saw some of John's comments to Doug and that was posted. And that's all you can ask for as a player's response, right? Normally what players do is they start picking off other players and saying, well, this guy's doing this. And all John did was take accountability for his own performance. We saw him play midweek in the Champions League in Salzburg. He had a good game, and he's working his way back into form. I don't assume that this is going to be his last time in the national team. I'm sure he'll be back. And it's just about regaining your form and performing at a high level when you get the opportunity.
Quick plug in for @by Doug McIntyre. We will go to Stephen Goff from the Washington Post.
Hey, Greg, thanks for your time. How much do you know about Christian's status at the moment? Obviously, he played a few minutes the other day, and he'll be in the squad this weekend. And what do you think projecting you can get out of him given the amount of time he was out?
That's a good question, Steven. We're going to see what type of minutes he gets this weekend. He just started training with the team the beginning of the week. It was unexpected that he was going to play against Malmo, and he ended up playing a little bit. So for us, it's about progressing him in a safe way. We know he's valuable to the team. We know we want him in the field, but we're also not willing to risk anything. It's about how he feels, and depending on that, will dictate what role he plays in these 2 games.
Next will be Ron Blum from Associated Press.
Hey, Greg, with the decision to bring Scally in now, you had said last month wasn't the right time. What's occurred in the last month with him that makes this the right time, or is it just having the extra day between games to integrate him into the group?
Yeah, I think it's that, but it's also his form, right? I mean, if you look at what's changed from month to month, he's played in another 5 Bundesliga games, a cup game. They beat Bayern Munich 5-0. He had an assist the other day. And this is what we're looking at is how is the player performing? And, when we see, him going against Sane or Alphonso Davies on the side, and like he's being tested and he's standing up to these tests. And for us, it was just gathering enough information. He's a young player. We wanted to see him performing consistently at a high level, and he's done that.
Next will be Doug McIntyre from Fox.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, Greg. You said something really interesting to Bobby Warshaw on the U.S. Soccer podcast that you do with him.
You're listening to that thing, man? You're listening to that podcast? I didn't know anyone listened to that.
Yeah, I think we all do. And one thing that you said that stuck out was you said that some of the guys that played in the Panama game weren't in the best form. It seems like for this roster, you emphasize guys who are playing regularly and playing well with their clubs. How much was that important to you picking this squad? Thank you.
Well, I think, that was looking back on the Panama game and thinking, okay, maybe we made some wrong lineup choices based on the form of guys. So part of it was important. I think part of it is also, so Christian, obviously hasn't played. So he's a guy that doesn't meet that criteria, but he's valuable enough to the team that we want him taking part. Right. I can't say that every player is exactly that same case, but you look like Reggie, he's included again, and he started playing more with his team. And, Joe Scally's playing, DeAndre's playing every week. We have some guys like Eunice that's not playing. And, so what I'm thinking is that it's always a combination. And I think it's always a combination of what they've done in the past for us and what they're doing with their teams. And, you try to get that balance right. And so it's not always perfect. In Eunice's case, we thought he played really well in this last window. And even though he's not getting enough game time, we wanted to still include him. Weston, on the other hand, is playing great right now. And, it's great to have him in the team. So it's not an exact science, Doug. I wish I had a better answer for you on that one.
Next will be Jeff Carlisle from ESPN.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, Greg. I was wondering if you could dig into the thought process behind the selection of your forwards. What do you think guys like Ferreira and Weah give you cover as opposed to like a Daryl DK or a PFOC? What was it about their profiles that you think fit, or about what PFOC and DK didn't give you?
I think it's just more of about what we're looking to do in these two games and how we're looking to play and some of the important attributes and in the number 9 position, the profile that we're looking at. We still want to be stretching the opponent. We still want to be getting behind their back line. We still want to be aggressive pressing the opponent. And we're looking at the profiles of these guys, and we're saying, okay, who really helps with that? Who's going to give us the best chance for success in these areas? We want dynamic movement in the penalty box. These type of things are important. Daryl, I think, is getting back to his form. He's I think he will have a role to play with the national team in the future. I think it's just not exactly where we need it to be right now. Jordan, similar. He's a strong physical forward, more of a stationary type of forward, a hold-up player. And we were looking for guys that are running a little bit more. It's, again, this window is a short window. We see Ricardo playing a large portion of these two games. So, we think we're in a good spot.
Next will be Brian Strauss from Sports Illustrated.
Thanks, guys. Greg, you just mentioned, Pepe playing a good portion of the two games. I'm curious just overall in terms of your approach, where you wanted the depth, perhaps some individual player decisions. How were those shaped by the fact that this window is so dramatically different than the others, having only the 2 games instead of 3, reduction of travel, and then what seems to be a big deal, which is a full extra day of rest between the games? How did that shape the way you built this roster?
Yeah, it shaped it. We made a lot of decisions based on that. You think about this, like it should be reasonable that if we're happy with the performance of players in the first game, that they can continue on and play the second game. You won't need to rest them or rotate them. That should seem reasonable. One thing we were cautious about was the fact that Tyler, Weston, and DeAndre have yellow cards, and we may be forced to take them out. So if you think about, DeAndre getting a yellow, we need a backup there. And then, same thing with the center midfield position. If Weston and Tyler get yellows, we need to back up in those positions. So that was critical to the window. And then, it's luxury to be able to bring a guy like Christian into camp. Even though he's not 90 minutes fit, to have him being able to make an impact in whichever way we choose is going to be helpful. And some of the other guys are in great form. We expect them to be able to play, as much as 180 minutes in 2 games. So we feel like, we have good cover in these positions, in all positions.
Next will be Ivis Galarcep from SBI Soccer.
Greg, obviously with John Brooks not getting called in, there's going to be a lot of attention paid to the center backs. As far as the group that you have, what did you see from Chris Richards, and what do you like about Mark McKenzie and Miles Robinson, that group, that young and kind of dynamic group of center backs? How do you like that group heading into these particular matchups, especially with Jamaica and Mexico? And a follow-up on the midfield, Gianluca Busio has obviously been playing a lot at Venezia and looking pretty sharp. And with Musa, as you mentioned, not getting as many minutes in this past month, could we see more Busio in November?
Yeah, Gianluca will definitely be pushing for a starting position. He's been in great form with Venezia, and ended up being a key player. When you talk about young players transition to Europe, especially the level that he went to, he's handled this better than just about anyone I've seen. I mean, it's been absolutely amazing, his transition into Italian Serie A. He's done a great job. And, he's in good form right now. So, he's certainly going to be in consideration to play some minutes in this camp. Regarding the other person, who did you mention again? Oh, John Brooks, the center back.
The center back.
Central defenders.
Yeah, center back. So, Chris Richards has been playing well for Hoffenheim. They gave him off last week. He'll be back in the lineup this weekend. He's played a lot of minutes and been doing a good job. We liked his performance for the most part against Costa Rica. We thought he did a good job. Miles has been steady force for us in virtually all of Gold Cup and all of World Cup qualifying thus far. We feel like he's a real solid option. And then, Walker had a fantastic game against Jamaica. And we know that he could either start the game or be cover, and we're satisfied with that. Regarding Mark, Mark has had World Cup qualifying experience, playing in a couple of these games. And for him, it's a question of, he has that athleticism. He has the ability to cover the back line. He's a very good 1v1 defender. And we feel if we're going to be pressing high, he's a good player to give us cover in this camp.
Next will be Henry Bushnell from Yahoo.
Thanks, Michael. Hey, Greg, thanks for your time. I have a question totally unrelated to the roster. How involved were you in the selection of Cincinnati as the site for the Mexico game? And what factors did you prioritize, or would you have hoped the Federation would have prioritized in selecting it?
Well, I was involved. It was a collective decision. I was involved in that group. And what I'd say is our priority was finding a venue that we know we'd have a pro-US crowd. And, it's not always cut and dry when you're talking about, United States. We have a rich Hispanic heritage in our country. And for us, it was about getting this right. We know it's going to be important to have a great crowd. And, Columbus is a venue that always comes to mind. We've been there before against Mexico. And, Cincinnati with the new stadium, with increased capacity, we think it's going to be a fantastic venue. We think it's going to be a great atmosphere. And, I'm already excited for this game because it's a big one.
Next will be Jonathan Tannenwald from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Greg. Greg, we've seen Brendan Aronson play on the right some for you and for his club. And with Gio out, does he become one of the candidates to take that spot for you in these games?
Yeah, I think he could play on the right. He's also played on the left for us. We also have other players that can play on the right, with Paul and Timmy Weah. So I don't think there's a great urgency to move Brendan to the right, but we'll see.
Next, we'll go to Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News.
Yes, Greg, I wanted to ask you about the result, the impact of the 2 victories this summer over Mexico on your series with Mexico. Obviously, 2 different games with 2 different teams, but how do you think that will impact this match and the series going forward?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not, those are 2 opportunities for our group to lift trophies, right? And we were very focused on doing that, and we did that. This is a completely different animal. This is in a group format, home game. They're going to be approaching the game, with intensity. We're going to be approaching it. It's going to be a massive game, and we're not thinking at all of what just happened in the summer. Our focus is thinking about what's going to happen on November 12th. And how can we win that game? We know it's going to be a highly competitive game. We know Mexico's in first place in the group. We're trying to catch them, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think overall, the summer was great to win 2 trophies for a young group, and this is different type of competition that we're in.
Next will be Bill Dennison from WLW Radio in Cincinnati.
Hey, Coach, I just wanted to check. I probably answered this a little while ago, but coming here to Cincinnati and bringing a game like this to brand new TQL Stadium, and also can you give us a little scouting report? I mean, you've seen Mexico before, but for the fans who haven't, what can they expect from your team and their team come a week from now?
Yeah, Bill, have you been down to the stadium yet? Have you been able to go there?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Like when we think about having a great venue to be able to host this game. This is definitely one of the great soccer venues in America. And, we're lucky to be able to play here. Regarding Mexico, I think it's a very strong team, very mature team. They're undefeated in qualifying thus far. They got a very talented attacking group, very good midfielders. So it's going to be a difficult game for us. We want to continue to be aggressive. We want to continue to push them and see what comes, continue to high press and make it uncomfortable for them. We're okay with playing a fast game. It's something that, we have the athletes to be able to do that. And we want to put speed into the game. I think I'm boring Ben there. Ben, right?
That's what happens when you got your video on, Ben. We will go to Megan Swanek.
Thank you. Hi, Greg. I want to ask you a bit about Matt Turner and Zach Steffen.
Yep.
So Turner's been the de facto starter pretty much since Gold Cup. He started 5 of the 6 qualifiers for us. Steffen played our last match against Costa Rica, which we won, and he did fairly well in the net. You've mentioned you want both goalkeepers to get experience in World Cup qualifiers, and neither one is the de facto number 1. Who do you plan to start against Mexico is my first part of the question. And then I'd also like to know that, knowing they bring different things to the team in terms of their strong suits, Turner as a shot stopper and Steffen with his feet playing out of the back, whose style of play is a better fit for this window?
It's a good question. And what I'd say is, they're both excellent goalkeepers. And, Matt's had a great year under Bruce and the New England Revolution. They've been fantastic, breaking the all-time record in the MLS regular season. It's been fun to see. And Zach's playing at a really high level. He played a cup game last week. And, we know that, when you're playing at Man City, even in training, you're facing a really high level of shots. And, we know Mexico can produce something similar as well. So, we're undecided as of yet of who's going to start. We're going to assess them when they come into camp and, hopefully make the right decision of who starts against Mexico.
Next will be Sam Stachel.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Greg. Hope you're doing well. Obviously, Serginho came down with the injury recently. When was the final decision made on his availability and his, I guess, lack of availability for you? And how do you think not having him is going to impact the group, particularly given what he's able to do and what he showed going forward in October?
So 7:30 this morning, Sam. That's when we made that final decision, and that's how fluid it is. And I'd even expect the roster to change from now until guys are in camp. That's just international soccer, and that's how it goes. But we have to be able to adapt, willing to adapt. When I have these conversations with guys when they're not on the roster, the first thing I say is be prepared for something to change. Be prepared for us to give you another call because things change rapidly. And it's about next man up mentality, and that's how we've been dealing with things, since we've taken over. Next guy has to step up and do his job. And if we can do that, we'll be okay. Serginho's had a really good impact in this last camp. And we liked what he gave us offensively, but when I'm looking at what our fullbacks do in general, our fullbacks have been really productive. If you think about, Reggie scoring against Costa Rica in the summer, Shaq scoring it and having assists in the Gold Cup, Anthony Robinson scoring and having assists thus far. So our fullbacks produce. We know that, and we're confident that they're going to be able to do it again in this window.
Next will be Ryan Talmadge from Goal.com.
Hey, Greg, you mentioned earlier Weston's form.
Yeah.
And how he's playing. And the reality is the last 2 months have kind of been a challenge for him, not just, with you guys, but also at the club level, where when you're at a club like Juve, you kind of always have to prove yourself or else you fall behind, you fall down the pecking order, transfer rumors, whatever. And over the last 2 months, he's kind of taken that challenge. He's scoring goals, playing in big games, winning big games, doing all that. So what I wanted to ask is, over these last 2 months, over with this turning point for Weston, really, what have you kind of learned about him? You've known him for a while, but what are some of the things you've learned about how he handles these situations and what he learns from these situations?
Well, Weston's one of the few players that actually thrives under pressure, and he thrives in situations like this. That's one thing I know about him is he finds a way to get things done. And, you can count him out. You can put him under pressure or not play him, but he'll find a way to get back on the field. He's that competitive, and he's good, and he's a good soccer player, and he can deal with this stuff and thrive. And we've seen that with Juventus. I think he came back and had an excellent window in October for the national team, and it's great to get him in this type of form going into November, because we know we need our big players in big games, and Mexico and Jamaica are going to be two big games.
Next will be Emily Olsen from USA Today.
Hey, Greg, thanks for the time. I wanted to follow up quickly on Sam's question about Serginho. Obviously, there's a lot going on with his club situation, and it's not the first time. In the situations, whether it's manager changes or just general turmoil of such going on at their clubs, how much are you speaking to players, and specifically with Serginho? What can you share about conversations you've had recently, now with the injury on top of everything?
Yeah, Serginho's been really focused, and he's been really, when you're at a club like that, you just want to keep playing. You want to stay on the field, and he's been focused on doing that. And he's been adapting for his team, whether he's playing on the right or right wing or right back, and he's been doing a good job. One thing I heard is that, we might have, not called him in because it's, we're doing Barcelona a favor. It's a new manager. I can confirm that that's not the case, that if we thought he could play, he would be in camp. And, these games are that important that we would never, give a guy a pass and say, okay, you can stay back, because, just to get some rest. That's just not the case. We wanted him in camp, and it's unfortunate that he can't perform.
Next will be Avi Creditor from Sports Illustrated.
Thanks, Michael. Hey, Greg. Just a question about Gio. We're going on 2 months now, and his injury recovery. Do you have any sense on what his timetable is and when he's due to return? And was there an expectation that you had that he would be ready for this camp? And is there a disappointment that he is not?
I think that, he's making progress. That's what I can say. It's, injuries sometimes don't, pan out the way you expect them to, and that's natural. And, it's taking longer than expected, but he's been dealing with it in a good way. And, he's a young player that wants to be out here helping the team. We want him out here. Unfortunately, he can't be. And it's just about how do you deal with what's next? How do you take the situation and make the best of it and keep moving forward?
We have time for 2 more questions. First will be Claudio Villalobos.
Thank you, Michael. Greg, from outside looking in, and obviously because of what we've seen so far, it seems to us, or at least to me, that you have one of those problems that most coaches like to have, where these guys performing at a top level, especially the ones after the game against Costa Rica and what they're doing right now with the clubs. Just to put a line on as an example, when you look at Brandon, Paul, Jesus, Ricardo, Christian, Tim, I mean, they're all performing at a high level. How difficult has it become for you to actually come up with a lineup?
I think it's not that difficult. We have profiles in our game model, and we slot guys in that we think can execute in the best way. It's great to have players in form. It's great to be able to choose, because we know you can use substitutions to your advantage also. And for us to have depth in each position and know that you can bring a guy off the bench that can execute at a similar level to the guy starting is a big help. We know that it's not 11 players that qualify for the World Cup. It's going to be a squad, particularly with these 3-game windows or 2-game windows or the travel or what have you. But it's important that we have guys, playing well, knowing their role, and being able to execute it when they're on the field.
And last question goes to Ben Wright.
Hey, Greg. Sorry for the yawn earlier. You touched on Walker briefly, but I'm just kind of an interesting window for him being called up late, and then playing a good bit of minutes. What are you hoping to see from him this time around?
Similar, Walker, we know, is a valuable leader on the team. We know he's a guy that, can perform at a high level, and, we're going to be looking for the same thing in this window. Both on and off the field, he contributes, and it's important that, our whole back line is aggressive, is able to move forward, is able to condense the field, is able to build out of the back. We put a lot of pressure on our back line to be good both defensively and offensively. And, Walker certainly shown that he can play that role.
Thanks, Greg. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time today. As I mentioned, we'll put out our media availability schedule later this week.